I saw what I saw!
I saw what I saw, but no one believes me.
Having one unexplained encounter is a lot. Having a lifetime of them can be overwhelming. But where do we go when the experiences get to be too much? This is the story of experiencer Deb Kauble. Welcome to A Call for Help.
I've been around for a while. I'm a little crusty, so and I am experiencer from my earliest memory is maybe 6 or 7 years old. So, Indianapolis, Indiana. Mom was a stay-at-home mother, and Dad worked in a factory, automotive industry. He was an electrician there. And a ham radio operator, and had a lot of hobbies, and was good at everything he did. I mean, my dad was a very interesting person. My parents had my older sister, and then didn't have any more children for almost 12 years. Shortly after they moved to what we called the UFO house, which is where the neighborhood where everybody would get on the roof and watch lights in the sky, right? I came. And then 14 months later, Bobby came. And then 14 months after him, give or take, Sherry came. So it's kind of a miracle I was here. Mom was told she couldn't have any more kids after Kathy. The other three of us are kind of a miracle. I was obsessed with my older sister. I worshiped the ground she walked on. I wanted to be like her. I followed her around everywhere. Mom said I used to run out to the school bus when she'd get off the bus, sissy, sissy, you know. The first thing that happened to me, actually, like I said, I always wanted to be with her. And she had a friend that lived down on the corner. And she went go spend the night on a Friday night with her girlfriend down on the corner. And I wanted to go, but obviously I couldn't. And I was upset. And I remember laying in my bed, and I remember thinking how badly I wanted to be with her. And all of a sudden, I found myself standing in the front yard. The light was different. It was dim like evening, but not dark, different. And there was a breeze blowing in my face, and I could feel the air blow my nightgown. And I heard a voice say, if you put your arms out and lean into the wind, you can fly down to your sister. And I did. I was at Denise's bedroom window, and then I just went right through the window. And I remember being up in the corner of the ceiling watching them roll their hair with empty orange juice cans and playing records and talking. And I was trying to get her attention, and she couldn't see me. They didn't know I was there. And all of a sudden, it dawned on me that I went right through the window, and I remembered all of a sudden feeling afraid and thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna float off and never get home. The instant I thought that, I was back in my bed and I woke up. So I told my sister, I saw you at Denise's, you guys were listening to records and rolling your hair. And she just looked at me kind of weird. I think it scared me more than anything at that point because I didn't know how to control it. I didn't know what it meant or understood. I didn't want to go and fly around after my sister outside of my body anymore after that. I didn't want to. And I'm thinking I was probably about 7. Maybe it was in kindergarten. So I was probably 6, 7, I don't know. My sister was driving. Once Kathy got her driver's license and could drive, she made planned a weekend trip up to Michigan to visit Denise and her family. And she took me because I used to play with Denise's little sister, Eileen. So we went up to Michigan. And I remember playing in the backyard with my friend. We were kicking a ball around. And I remember she kicked the ball over the fence. I climbed over the fence outside of the backyard to go get the ball and come back. And as soon as I got to the side of the house, got the ball, I suddenly realized I didn't recognize where I was. I got completely disoriented. I didn't see my friend in the backyard. anymore. And I walked around to the front of the house, and it was on a cul-de-sac. And I went down onto the sidewalk and I looked up to the house, and I thought, okay, well, this looks like the house that we went in when we came, I think. The door was open. So I kind of gingerly walked up the pathway and into this doorway. When I got into the house, I realized that the stuff looked the same, but it was kind of a jumble, and things weren't where they were supposed to be. Like, there were end tables and lamps and chairs and stuff, but instead of a lamp being on the end table, it was on a chair. You know what I mean? Just things were a little cockeyed. When I realized this, and I realized something was wrong and I shouldn't be here, I remember turning around to run back out the open door. And when I did, there was a little boy in front of me, between me and the open door. He was my height. I would assume about my age. And he had big brown eyes. And he's like, "Where are you going?" I said, "I'm going home." I remember him saying he wanted me to stay and play with him, that he had some really neat toys he wanted to show me. I don't know what was happening to me, but all of a sudden I was no longer afraid of where I was or this boy. And so he took me to his playroom. Well, I remember when he opened the door, this playroom was like absolutely huge. It seems to me like it was way bigger than the whole house was. And it was all bright and lit up. It's like the light came from the walls themselves. And everything in it was white, the furniture and everything else. And there was a place like a sunken living room kind of area in the middle of it. And there was a red light flashing on the wall, and it's like a table was sliding out of the wall. And he had me sit on one of the ledges of this like sunken living room thing. And I saw one of these toys that he had me play with was like a little shoebox like thing. And it reminded me of when we were a kid, we used to make little musical instruments out of shoeboxes and string. And we would like make these guitar like things, with these. And it kind of reminded me of that. So I had it on my lap and I was plucking the strings on this thing. And I remembered something poking me, hurting me in the legs. And I got scared again. And I dropped this thing and I started to take off, try to find the doorway to get out. I went right out the door. He came back behind me. He's like, "Where are you going? Please don't leave." As I got to the doorway, some big old mean woman came out of the back of the house from somewhere. And she came in and she said, "What is she doing here? She doesn't belong here." I thought this was his mother. And I felt like somebody shoved me out the door. And I'm out on the sidewalk, the pathway that goes to the sidewalk at this point. And I look, and there's my sister standing at the end of the pathway, just standing there. I'm like, "Oh my, thank God, it's my sister. Everything's okay." And I ran up to her, grabbed her hand. I don't recall her ever saying a single word to me. The next thing I remember after that is we're driving back home. Weird part about this whole story is I was missing for like a whole day, and they had called the police to come and look for me. And they scoured the whole area looking for me. My sister found me. And my sister was the one who brought me back to the house where everybody else was at when they were all looking for me. That was life. I just thought that was stuff that happened to everyone. I didn't realize that it was something unusual. To me, I didn't know any different. It's like a kid who grows up without ever having seen a TV. You don't miss what you never had. I never realized how highly strange all this was. So I was shy, kind of kept to myself in school. I didn't have a lot of friends, but I did love the ones I had. And I just felt nervous a lot, like anxious. 13, 14, 15, that area. I don't know. I just didn't feel like I was connected to people. I was 16. I used to go to Rough River State Park in Kentucky with her family every 4th of July. This is my best friend I'm talking about. We lived 10 minutes apart. I go down to Rough River State Park with her and her family. She had 3 brothers, her dad, her mom, her uncle, who was crazy. They had a trailer parked somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and there was a bonfire pit. And one night, everybody else had gone into bed. Well, Terry and I were playing on the CB radio. Back then, CBs were all the rage, and kids were all over it too. You didn't have to have a license. And so we were talking to these boys on the CB radio. They sounded cute. I don't know. She goes into the trailer for something. I'm talking to these boys, and all of a sudden I hear this boy say, "I see you." I'm in her dad's old truck, and I look out the rearview mirror because it's just parked there. Here are these 2 lights, headlights, I assumed, like just kind of floating over the hill and down towards the truck. And I'm thinking, oh my God, Terry's dad is going to kill me. What have I done? Okay, we're in the woods, campsite, and there's a big clearing, and the trailer is off to one side, up next to the woods, and then there's rocks all around where we burnt things and had fire, hot dogs on the wood and all that. And then on the other side of that, here's the gravel where you could pull up and park your vehicles. And I was in that truck, and there was wood stuff in front of me, like scrub and wooded area. And then behind us, the drive that came up over the hill and down into where we were. And it's grassy, like an open field. Before Terry came back outside, I remember seeing reflected on the hood of the truck, I saw like pinwheels of colored lights. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm trying to look up the windshield to look up and see what was above the truck, these pinwheels of light. And then the next thing I know, here comes Terry, right? She gets back in the truck and she's like, oh my God, my dad's gonna kill us. We get out of the car. They pull up behind us and they shut off their lights. Terry and I get out of the truck and we walk around. This boy gets out of the car. He gets out of the front. I'm assuming he's the driver. And he walks over. These 2 other boys get out of the back. And they come up and they stand beside him on either side. They look like twins. They're tall and they've got real dark hair, and they're like wearing dark jackets and dark denim or whatever. They're just, all I remembered was I realized they looked like twins. But the one in the front was shorter. He had kind of long blonde hair, and I thought he was so cute. I was like, oh my God, he's gorgeous. I thought he was so cute. He looked like he could be my brother. He's like overly excited to see us, right? So we're over sitting by the fire. Terry offers them something to drink. We took him into the trailer. We thought everybody would be asleep. I was shocked because Terry's parents and brothers were all sitting up in the living room of this trailer. And we thought they'd gone to bed long time before. And this young boy says, thank you for inviting us into your home. And that's when Terry's mom jumped up and said, you guys want something to drink? Even offers some beer. I think he says something like, we'll have whatever you're going to have, which we drink soda pop. Then we all went outside, the young ones, like Terry's brothers and me and her and these boys. The 2 twin boys never spoke. Never. The conversation was completely one-sided. He wanted to know everything about us, what we liked, what kind of, we told him we liked music. What kind of music did we like? We told him what kind of music we liked. It was very one-sided. He just asked a lot of questions about us, and he kind of mirrored back to us what we were saying. All I could think about was how cute this boy was, Anyway, when they got ready to leave, they said something about they were in a band. They're in a band, and they're in a campsite just over the hill. We should come and listen to them play. So we're like, yeah, we'll go. We'll go. My girlfriend knew all the way around Rough River State Park, all the little no-name roads and everything else. And so they left. So the next day, we're still talking about them. Terry and I get in the car, and we just start driving all over the place trying to find their campground. We discover not only are there no campgrounds back where they said they were camped, there aren't even any roads for probably to get back there. Weeks after the camping trips, I could not stop thinking about this boy. I don't know why. I just felt this connection. It was so bizarre. So it was just another one of those weird events like when I was a kid and I just stick it in a slot somewhere and leave it because I can't explain it. I am, I believe, 17. I have a boyfriend at this point. I am out in the country in my girlfriend's car. She's a couple years older than me, and she has a friend of hers that I had only met that night with us. I believe it was a Nova, Chevy Nova, light blue, kind of junky. We're driving. We had been at the roller skating rink because me and Dolores loved to roller skate, and her boyfriend was at the roller skating rink that night too, and he left early, and he told her he was going to go home. Well, she didn't trust him, and one of the things that she liked to do was stalk him. So, little knock after he left, she decides we're going to leave the skating rink and we're going to go see if Kenny is where he says he was supposed to be. At this point, it's way out in the boonies on the far, far northeast side of Indy, which at that point was nothing but just open fields and wooded areas and maybe a farmhouse dotted here and there, and he lived in one of those. So we're driving down this dark country road, stars everywhere. This star catches my eye. I thought, that's moving weird. It got really bright, and I remember pointing to it, and I'm like, hey, look, there's a UFO. And I kind of giggled, and Dolores kind of giggled, but the girl in the back seat immediately flipped out. She starts crying and getting all scared and everything, and she like gets down behind the front seat on the floorboard of the back seat saying, don't say that, don't say that. And I'm like, what the hell? The next thing I remember at that point, first I'm seeing the light, then we're driving again. Dolores looks over at me and she's like, holy shit, Mom and Dad are going to be up any minute now. It was almost like 6 o'clock. It was time for their alarm to go off. But I remember Dolores turned around looking at me when we realized how much time had passed and didn't know why. She said, I guess time flies when you're having fun. I go, well, I guess so. She, that was the only thing that was actually said about the missing time. So we scurried up and got back to her house, and we climbed through her bedroom window because she had already set it up. That's how to get in. We got back in the bed when then we heard the parents' alarm go off. My memory got foggy after that for a while. But I started having dreams. Like I called them dreams because I didn't know what else to call them. Of being in the car with Dolores and this girl, but we're stopped. And the car gets enveloped in this black smoke, and I can't see anything. But I can feel that somebody has opened the car door and has a hold of my legs and is yanking me out of the car by my legs. Never went any farther than that, and I just went with everything else weird in my life. It just went in the weird box. Okay, and this is where it starts to get weird. Okay, like I said, I had a boyfriend, and we got engaged, and we were going to get married in June. I was going to turn 18 in February. So after I turned 18, and we got our ducks in a row, we were going to get married. In January, I found out I was pregnant. I told my mother. My mom took me to the doctor. I had a pregnancy test with the doctor and a blood test, pelvic exam. In the conversation with the doctor, he confirmed that I was pregnant. Now, I knew when we did something, it was Christmas Eve when we had our first, encounter that could result in a pregnancy. So I knew how to get pregnant. And so I told him when the date that I, did something. And he's like, "No, you're farther along than this." And I said, "No, I can't be. I didn't do anything." And he's like, "No, you're farther along." I'm like, "What? Okay." I mean, he's the doctor and I'm a 17-year-old kid. So, some weeks pass and we are getting used to the idea of becoming parents a lot sooner than we had planned on it. But, it's okay. We were going to have kids anyway. We'll manage. And, we start loving it, just talk. I talk to my stomach and all that jazz. I mean, granted, I wasn't that far along, and so a part of me, even though I was scared, I was happy too. So I guess it was in March, I was babysitting for my older sister. And I was at her house, laying on the couch, had my face to the back of the couch, fully nodding out. I was listening to Bob Newhart, the Bob Newhart show. As I'm laying there, I started to feel this like soft stroke, it's like gentle stroke from the back of my head all the way down my spine. Real slow. And I startled at first, but then I immediately thought, "Oh, that's just Sissy, my little niece, my little me." And I went right to sleep. When I woke up in the morning, I was in my niece's bed. But I woke up immediately, thought, "Oh my God, my baby. There's something wrong with my baby." And I immediately went to the bathroom to look to see if there was anything going on, and everything looked normal. And I couldn't shake it. So, and I didn't tell anybody but my best friend, or one of my best friends at the time, Dolores, which is the same gal that I had been stalking her boyfriend with that previous fall, right? And I kept telling her, something's not right. Something's not right. And she said, "Well, I'm going to Planned Parenthood to get my birth control. So if you want to get a pregnancy test, you can do that free there. They don't ask you no questions. You don't even have to tell anybody. Then it'll be positive and you'll calm down." So I went. And the pregnancy test at the Planned Parenthood was negative. And the woman said to me, uh, "We advise you something like, if you don't have your period within the next 7 days, you should contact your doctor," or whatever. I freaked out. Even Dolores freaked out. I remember getting back in her car and she's just sitting there. We're in a parking lot. I'm punching the dashboard and I'm screaming, "I want my baby." She doesn't know what to do with me. She's like, "Just calm down." She's the one that figured out, "Go home and tell your mom, you're spotting or something. You need to go back to the doctor. Maybe that test is wrong." So that's what I did. And my mom took me back to the doctor. He gave me another blood test, another pelvic exam, and he had mom and I meet him in his office after I got dressed. And we sat down, and he, first thing out of his mouth is, "You're not pregnant." I didn't ever remember losing anything, like have a miscarriage or anything like that. And so my mom's like, does she need a DNC? Is she okay?" He said, "No, she doesn't need anything. Everything looks completely normal." And then he looks at me and he says, "We see this sometimes, especially in young women. It happens." He said, "You're young, you're healthy, you'll have plenty of other opportunities to have children. And my best advice to you is to forget this ever happened." But I did start having, I call them lucid dreams, of my baby being taken from me and those guys with the big gray eyes. Even later, of seeing this kid that would have been probably 5 years old at the time and seeing her at mostly age appropriate. She was a little bit smaller than you would think the average 5-year-old would be, and she didn't look like them. But it was crazy. It made no sense. And I just assumed that it was my mind trying to comfort itself because I lost the baby. I was a newlywed. I was just 18, and this was in 1978. This was in the fall, but it was still hot, like end of August, beginning of September. We lived in an attic apartment in downtown Indy, and it was hot as hammer hell in there. My husband and I had gone to bed, and I was awakened by these two gray guys. They were about maybe 4 feet tall. They had both black, from neck to feet, all black, except for their hands. And their heads were big. They had huge black eyes that were shimmery, like they almost caught all the little light in the room and like threw it back at me. It was just real swimmy and weird. I don't recall any bit of a nose. Maybe there was a little slit for a mouth, just a tiny slit, and I don't recall ears, no hair. In the pale light of the room, they were a grayish color, super light colored skin. And I sat up in bed and I remember panicking. I thought, don't touch me. Just please don't touch me and I'll be okay. Please don't touch me. I mean, the terror was off the chart. One was closer to me than the other one. The one closer to me had a little box in his hand. It was about the size of a shoebox, maybe a little bigger, and it was all black and it had like a red light on the top. I'm freaking out and I say, don't touch me. Please don't come any closer to me. Then suddenly I'm fine. I'm relaxed. I'm not scared anymore. And this box is literally floating across the room from his hand to my lap. And I said something to the effect of, what is this? Can I have it? And it's not talking to me with words. I don't know how I'm hearing it. It's saying to me, kind of almost in my own thought voice, no, you can't have it. But when you see it again, you'll know what it's for and you'll know how to use it. And then it goes back to him. Then him and the other guy kind of slide back away from the foot of my bed a little bit. They get all weird and shimmery, looking like I'm looking at them through the heat of a fire, that kind of weird stuff. And then they're gone. When they're gone, I can move. I immediately roll over. I start shaking Charlie, and I'm like, get up, get up, get up. You're not going to believe what just happened to me. He didn't wake up. And I know this sounds completely insane, but I just slid back down in the bed, and I went right to sleep. But when I woke up in the morning, I remembered all of it. And I said to him, I tried to wake you up last night. These weird things were in our bedroom, and they had a box, and they talked to me. And he says, what did you eat for dinner? And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, don't eat that anymore because that gave you nightmares. I'm like, I was not asleep. This was not a nightmare. I was awake. He's like, oh, okay. So I got mad at him. I'm like, go to work, bye. And called my mother. And I told my mom about what had happened the night before. Now, my mom, I don't know what her actual thoughts were about it, but she was supportive. I was awake. I was not asleep. This was not a dream. I'm telling myself, maybe I have completely lost my mind. Maybe I am absolutely insane. Because this can't be real. It was Community East in Indianapolis on Ritter Street. Well, I got admitted to the hospital because I suddenly started to gain a lot of water weight real quick and my blood pressure went out of control. I started passing out. So I was admitted to the hospital, even though my baby wasn't due for almost 7 weeks, like 6.5 weeks. and it was determined that I had eclampsia, and it didn't respond to conventional treatment. So it was decided that the only way to save my life was to terminate the pregnancy. This was the only option. The surgeon was a devout Catholic, and my last foggy memory is he said, "Let me pray with you." They gave me the anesthetic, but I wasn't unconscious. I was paralyzed, but then they started cutting me open. So it was navel down to pubic bone. I remembered feeling it. It felt like a burning, pinching and pulling and pinching and pulling and ripping and searing. And I was desperately trying to get someone's attention to let them know I can feel this. I'm hearing them talking about sailboats and whatnot on Geist Reservoir while they're trying to get me open. But all of a sudden, everything went black. But I still was aware of me. And I could hear their voices, but their voices started going farther and farther away. And then all of a sudden, I felt this, and I literally unplugged from my body. All the sound went away. It was silence. And I was aware of myself, but I couldn't see my hands. I couldn't see myself. And then I remembered making fists, and I remember pounding on a black box, this black wall all around me. And I was screaming at the top of my lungs, "Let me out. I'm not dead. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out. Let me out." So anyway, I'm trapped in this black box, and I'm trying to tell these people I'm not dead. All of a sudden, I hear a voice. I think personally the voice was a nurse whispering in my ear. And she said to me, "You can't leave yet. You got a little boy who needs his mother." And as soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh, I have a baby." Because when I disconnected from my whole body, I forgot about that whole life I was about to leave. I forgot about this world. I forgot about my family, the people I loved. I forgot that I was having a baby. I have a baby. I have a baby. I'm a mom. I can't. And I plugged back in. Eventually, I woke up. I was in ICU, obviously, and my baby was in the NICU. His lungs were completely developed. He weighed 5 pounds and he was 21 inches long. Maybe I connect this near-death experience because of the fact that I felt like I was trapped in a box, and then I go back, just a few months, and I've got these gray guys in my bedroom giving me this black box to look at and telling me that when I see it again, I'll know what it's for and how to use it. I find my consciousness stuck in a box. I don't know. It's just all just weird. I found out I was pregnant with my second child when my first one was 3 months old. And my doctor was not happy. The week after I had my first doctor appointment, I got phone calls from something strange the entire time I was pregnant. Every Wednesday at 9:00 in the morning, the phone would ring. I pick up the phone, I say hello, and I hear this factory noise. And it's kind of garbly. And then this voice starts talking to me, and it sounds kind of like in a tin can almost. There's gurgles and grunts and clicks and mumblings of words that I didn't understand. But more importantly, the sounds triggered certain feelings in me. It annoyed me. And I got angry and I hung up. It was every Wednesday at 9:00 on the nose. Sometimes it felt like whatever it was angry. Sometimes it felt elated or happy or curious or informational. It was always a different kind of emotion that came through that phone into me when I was listening to this. After I came from the hospital with my son, I never got another phone call. Never. I was 23 years old, and I was living with my parents at the time. I had recently been divorced, and I had 2 small kids. So I was trying to figure out a way to make my life work. On the night of June 30th, 1983, early evening, I was preparing to go help a friend cut some patterns out. She was a seamstress, and she used to give me spending money to help her cut patterns. I was standing at the kitchen window washing my hands before I left, and I noticed that there was a light on in the pump house of the swimming pool.